welcome to Queer Theology and Philosophy and Spirituality. This is the LGBTQ channel for theology, philosophy, and spirituality. And those are the sounds from Africa. I love that. And you just had the flute and the lion roaring. And we're so happy about that. And speaking of animals and sounds, today we're all going to talk about animism. And animism is one of the religious systems in the world. We're discussing diverse religious systems, diverse spiritualities, diverse pneumatologies, that is spirituality. And animism is one of them. And animism comes from the Latin word anima, which is breath, spirit, life. And in Greek it is pneuma. And in Hebrew it is ruach. But interesting enough, in Africa, especially the tribes that worship spirits, is the one found in Sudan and South Sudan, is Jwok. They call spirit Jwok. And why I find that very interesting is they believe that Jwok is the wind and is the breath of the world. And Jwok is a spirit. And why have I brought about the story of Jwok? It's because animism is very common in Africa and Asia, parts of Asia, and parts of Native America, the whole of South America, North America, before the Europeans went there. They were very animistic. And I remember when I was going through this, I used to call whenever I used to hear the word animist or animism, I used to think it is a worship of animals. But actually it's not a worship of animals. It is a religious belief that objects, places, and creatures all possess a distinct spiritual essence. So every object in the world possesses a spiritual essence. Every place in the world possesses a spiritual essence. Every creature in the world possesses a spiritual essence, and it's distinct. And you have to understand this. That is very important in animism, in my study, my personal study, is everything that has a name, be it an object, a place, or a creature, possesses a distinct spiritual essence. So like when you go to Chicago, that place, that name carries a spiritual essence. And when you go to when you have a Samsung phone, that phone has a spiritual essence. And when you see a lion eating another animal, that animal is in its spiritual essence. So that's what an animist believes. Of course, you please understand, this is a religious belief, and therefore a religious belief system. It is not a scientific fact. So people are free to believe in anything. There are some people who don't believe in animism and therefore are not animists. And for me, I think Jesus was an animist in some way, and I'm going to show you why. Potentially, animism perceives all things, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, human handiwork, and perhaps even words as animated and alive. Yeah, human handiwork. Your phone, your car is a living thing. It is spiritual. And I think I also became an animist. I became someone who decided everything is spiritual. And as said, you see, Jesus, in my view, was an animist because he used to talk to trees. He said, if you have faith tell a mountain, be thou removed, and it will move. So that means the mountain can hear. It means the mountain is animated. Then Jesus also said that if you don't praise me, the rocks are going to cry out to praise me. And then he said that he also said, of course we talked about the rocks. Then he also said something very important that makes us understand this thing, is that God is a spirit. So God is an anima, God is a breath, God is a spirit, God is a life form, God is a ruach, God is a pneuma, God is an anima, God is a juok, God is a ghost. Because the word ghost is the old English word for spirit. That's why in the King James Version of the Bible, the Holy Spirit is also called the Holy Ghost. And could be, and there's another interesting thing about the word Holy Ghost, which we may check at the end of the program, is that in the Greek, I have a feeling that in the New Testament Greek, the word Holy Ghost is used. But in the Old Testament Hebrew, there is no mention of the word Holy Ghost. It is Holy Spirit or Spirit of God. Because in Hebrew, you say Ruach Kodesh. In Hebrew, you don't start with the adjective. You start with the noun. So the noun and then the adjective. So Spirit of God or Spirit of Holiness, Ruach Kodesh. That is what it is. And then you need to understand translation is not perfect in the sense that the words that are in an Hebrew may not have been found in English, or the words that existed in English are not found in Hebrew. So the Bible, when you read it, is actually a new book. When you read it in English, a translation is not necessarily exact to the original tongue. It is just is a new language. It's a work written in a new language, and so that's why I'm saying translation can be weak. So imagine God is a joke. Yes, God is a joke. He's a spirit. That's what Jesus said. And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. They must worship him in joke and in truth. So that's the interesting thing I've been finding about this animism. And of course, you see weather systems. As I've told you, animism perceives all things, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, even words, to be animated. Yes, and this is very good. That's another thing why Jesus was an animist. Jesus said that his words are spirit and life. His words are spirit and life. That what he's saying, or whatever he said, is spiritual. It has power, it has life, it's living. This is why people bless and curse. It is their words have power. And this is why the words of a king have power. Because when he speaks, everybody knows this is a king speaking. And this is why in kingdoms they have treason. Because treason means the moment you don't recognize a king, you have committed treason. And if the belief that this king should not be recognized spreads very fast, the king can be deposed. So that's why countries have that law of treason, to protect that office, because they know whenever a king speaks, his word is authoritative. It is living. You know, whatever I'm saying, I cannot tell a country that now, let us not do this, you know. Who am I? So you see, that's the thing. But when the king of your country speaks, and that is what is called a living word. And Jesus said that. So animism is the world's oldest religion. It predates any form of organized religion and is said to contain the oldest spiritual and supernatural perspective in the world. I agree with that. Jesus is an animist in that sense because, as I told you, he was talking to trees and rocks. He said the rocks can talk. And this personification is very ancient. Ancient tribes used to believe that, the mountains are speaking, the trees are clapping. That's what Isaiah says. And that is the thing. And it's the oldest religion in the sense that when you minus text from other religions, but when you include text in a religion, it's Hinduism that is the oldest religion because they have texts, and then followed by Judaism because you predate the text, or you date the text, and the religion that has the oldest text is Hinduism, and that makes Hinduism the oldest textual religion or the oldest scriptural religion. But when you minus text, it is Animism that's the oldest religion. Animism is a term for the belief system of many indigenous people, especially in contrast to the relatively more recent development of organized religions. So indigenous people were very animistic, and what you need to do is find where these indigenous people belong. Most of these indigenous people lived in Native America. Like I told you, all the Americas from North America to South America, it was filled with indigenous Native Americans. And these people they were very animistic, to the point that when the Europeans came, they fought with them severely because the Europeans came with Christianity, that was an organized religion. So organized religion fought disorganized religion, or what you call maybe free religion, because I think it was just a free religion. Even freedom is organized. It's just freedom. It's free. Things just happen anywhere. But organized religion, there is a limitation of freedom. There are certain things you can do, and there are certain things you can't do. That's what an organized religion is all about. And the same happened when the Europeans came to Africa. They found a lot of animism, and they attacked it, and they converted the Africans to become organized religious people, and by giving them Christianity. Of course, Islam was already there, and Islam is also an organized religion, but Islam was more tolerant to animism. So you would find most of the people were Muslim in Africa, but they kept their animistic beliefs. But Christianity was less tolerant to animism, so when you became a Christian, you even had to renounce your animistic practices. Some African Christians did that, majority of them, but the small minority kept their animism and their Christianity. And even others Christianized their animism. This was seen in Southern Africa. When you go to Zimbabwe and South Africa and Swaziland, you still find people who practice animism and are Christians. So that's a thing you need to understand. So we, of course, we don't read all this article. We just want to touch, and then you will go through. Now, as I've told you, and as we've read, animism encompasses the beliefs that all material phenomena have agency, that there exists no hard distinction between spiritual and physical material world, and that soul or spirit or sentience exists not only in humans, but also in other animals, plants, rocks, geographic features as mountains, rivers, or other entities of the natural environment, including thunder, wind, and shadows. Animism thus rejects Cartesian dualism. Now, Cartesian dualism means the division between mind and body, that we are separate. We have a mind and we have a body. Now, animists don't believe that. They reject it. They believe that the soul and spirit is found, or spirit is found in humans, in everything. Practically everything has a soul, everything has a spirit, and that they are not inseparable from the body, from the material. So like a mountain has its spirit. So you cannot separate the mountain from its spirit. When the mountain is destroyed, the spirit is gone. And so you could say animists are near atheists, because atheists believe when you die, you're gone. and that's how it is. But for Cartesian dualists, they believe that the mind is separate from the body, so that when you die, or when something is destroyed, the mind goes somewhere else, the spirit goes somewhere else. That is the view. And so you can choose which you want, but I prefer being an animist. I like animism because of the monistic nature of it. It is united, that the spirit and the mind and the body are one. I believe that's my belief. I am yet to prove it. You know, the problem of belief systems is that anything is right. You know, anything is right, especially if it is not proved. Like, nobody knows what happens after death. Nobody has concrete what happens to the mind after death. If we knew what happened to the mind and the spirit after death, then it means we have left this field of religion and belief, and we've entered the field of science and fact. But it's scientific that what happens at death. At death, it's a fact. Your body decomposes. It's a fact. So that one is no argument. You can believe what you want to believe, that no, when you die, it is not your body. No, when you die, your body becomes matter, decomposed matter, and it becomes part of the earth. That one is a settled issue. The one that is not a settled issue is what happens to the mind and the spirit. That's what people want to know. All right. So these are theories of animism, old animism. This is where people assumed they were unable to understand the difference between persons and things. And I think this is very true. In the ancient African languages, if you want to know an animistic tribe, they never classified the items in their language. They don't have, in many languages in Africa, especially Bantu languages, if you've been studying languages, Bantu languages tend to classify. They classify things. And so there's living things, then there's inanimate things. They are put in different groups. Trees are also classified. So I have a feeling that this happened when they came into contact with Arabs or Europeans, but preferably Arabs, because they have been in Africa longer than the Europeans. That's my theory and assumption. But the ancient tribes, the old tribes of Africa, Khoisan and some of the Dinka, when you study their language, they don't have groupings of items. A thing, there's no difference between a person and a thing. A person is just you're just ka something. You just ki something. You're just there. There's no difference between a thing and a person. Like, there's one language that calls shoes a person, because they connect the shoe to the person. It's very beautiful when you study the languages in Africa. Like, let's give the example in East Africa, Ngato in some tribes means a person, but in a Bantu language it means shoes. And so the shoes are one with the person. That's the belief in the spirit, in the animistic thought, that your shoes are who you are. And that's how it is, animists do. Now, okay, these are other guys. I don't want to talk about the different theories, because everybody can have a different theory, thanks to what the animists have said, that we are all distinct. So even you can have your theory. So this is just going to be for your own reading, and you can come back and read this. There's new animism that is also there. Good. And yeah, there's something going to read more, a lot. And then this religion. There's a very nice picture I've left there. I wanted us to focus on it. These are the 5 Ojibwe chiefs in the 19th century who developed the new animism. I had to stop here because I value Native American religion. They are very animistic, and the animism is beautiful, thoroughly refreshing. If you have a philosophical mind, you can drown in Native American thought. It is so lovely. And I had to stop by and just give them a greeting. And because I remembered the pictures that were here, this is now often a tabula representing figures of various cultures in mediator-like roles, often being termed as shaman. Yes, these are the shamans. Shamans are the religious persons in animistic religions. And as I've told you, please do not forget Africa and Asia, and mostly the Asia we are talking about is America. All those Native Americans are actually genetically found to be related to Asians right now. It's unbelievable, but it's true. That's what happened. And so it's basically an African Asian phenomenon, with a few Europeans being animistic, but not as such. They were pagan. They believed in gods more. I think Europeans got a lot from Egypt, because Greece got things from Egypt, then they took them to Europe, because Greece is in Europe, and that was the end. They focused on gods rather than animism. Animism tends to be very Eastern and African. But we'll see if there's some European animism. Of course, animism is found everywhere, so every country has its view. And okay, that's Animist Altar, Bozo Village, Mopti, Bandiangara in Mali, 1972. So there you are. You can see the Animist Altar. It looks like a phallus, and they built that to call on the gods. And you see, it's like a mediator. It's like a human. You know, the beauty of these religions is that when you build something, the building forms a connection between the sky and the earth, because this thing is on from the earth and is projected to the earth. And so it's a mediator. Buildings are actually mediators. And anything projected from the ground is a mediator between the sky and the land. But of course, now with human ingenuity, we are even flying out of the earth. You know, we're going out of space. So we're not really moved and shocked by connecting the earth to the sky. And then fetishism and totemism is also animistic rather. And some people, because totemism means you have a totem, a sign for your clan or your tribe, and it's mostly an animal or a plant. And so what is based on that is because the animal already has a spirit. Remember, animism means everything has an essence. Everything has a spirit. Everything, even your phone, even your laptop has an essence. That is what animism does and believes. So then this is shamanism, very important for LGBTQ persons, because in some communities, LGBTQ persons are qualified shamans. Yes, that is a spirituality. That's why we even had to change our channel to be a spiritual channel, to remind the LGBTQ persons that we are, in some communities, we are very important, because the shaman is the one who has access and influence in the world of benevolent and malevolent spirits. And typically, the reason why who typically enters into a trance state during a ritual and practices divination and healing. Now, it's understandable why LGBTQ people can be weird. It's because they are sexually different from the main society. They are not the same. And so, for some reason, people put them aside and said these guys are gods or they're priests. In Western Africa, there was when you were LGBTQ, you were a priest, and you used to do the work of the priesthood. and used to do, and you were a shaman. So that's what used to happen. Of course, some other tribes in Africa, when you were born intersex, you were a bad omen, so they used to kill you. They would kill the children because they believed they were speaking to the community that a curse is coming or there's going to be a famine. So to stop it, they would kill them. But you see, it was ignorance. They didn't understand these people were intersex. Intersex means you're born differently. And remember, I'm going to do another video about us being all intersex, but not today. So anyway, shamans are here in the world. As I've told you again, most shamans I have seen are mostly LGBTQ. Go to Southern Africa. Southern Africa recognizes sexual orientation, LGBTQ persons, and they surprisingly make up the highest population of shamans. That is healers and diviners. I mean, look at the Isangoma who died this year. She was a lesbian. And there are many gay people who are like that. So shamans treat mental illnesses, ailments, physical, all of these things. They also enter supernatural realms and dimensions to obtain solutions to problems affecting the community. So basically, they were just a spiritual people. Now, the distinction from pantheism and animism is that although the two are sometimes confused, and there are some religions which are both pantheistic and animistic, but animists believe everything to be spiritual in nature. They do not necessarily see the spiritual nature of everything in existence as united. Monism. I am a monist. I believe everything is connected. Everything is connected. So there, I'm not friends with the animists because they don't see monism. They see diversity, distinction. That everything is spiritual but not united. A monist and a pantheist sees everything to be spiritual but united. As a result, animism puts more emphasis on the uniqueness. Oops, if they have said that, I think I should go to animism, because uniqueness is the key principle in the whole world. As a result, animism puts emphasis on the uniqueness of each individual soul. In pantheism, everything shares a spiritual essence rather than having distinct spirits and or souls. So in pantheism, there is only one soul and there is only one spirit and there is only one God. That's why Paul was a pantheistic, because he said God is in all and for all, and this God is one. According to Paul, God was one, and he was in everything, and he was in everyone, and he was for everyone. So he was a pantheistic. He believed that all cultures share the same God. That God created Jews, God created Gentiles, the same God did that. But an animist says everything is unique. And I believe the animists because of the principle of uniqueness. Even amongst twins, one twin is not the same as the other. Physically, they may be the same, but spiritually, they may be different. That is my view. Because for you to really say that they are the same, they must do the same thing at the same time in the same way. As long as they don't do that, sorry. So, in my view, I think I can go with the animists. Yes, we are all unique. But then what I can do, I will do what Wikipedia has said, be both pantheistic and animistic. I will combine uniqueness with unity, that we are a diverse union. We are all one, but diverse. That's what I will do. So I think let's marry pantheism and animism. Now, examples of this is the Moonism, Bongthingism, the traditional polytheistic animist, shamanistic and syncretic religion of the Lepcha people, and the New Age movement commonly demonstrates animistic traits in asserting the existence of nature spirits, yes, and some neo-pagan groups, including eco-pagans, describe themselves as animists, meaning that they respect the diverse community of living beings and spirits with whom humans share the world. Yeah, the neo-pagans are not so bad because what I mean by this is because they believe we are in a diverse community, biodiversity. Now, what is bio in Greek? It's life. So life diversity. And what is life in Greek also? Pneuma, spirit diversity. That's what biodiversity means. It's just spirit diversity. Even a star has life. It is a life form. A star is a life form. Our planet is a life form. You know, a black hole is a life form. It's doing something. You know, whenever you see a black hole moving, it means it has life. It's animated. So the cosmos is filled with diverse life forms. And the neo-pagans are saying, and very soon, these are the eco-pagans, the ones who belong to Earth, they are terrestrial. We also have extraterrestrial pagans who now, and that is what happened in Greece. They worshipped Jupiter, they worshipped the planets, they worshipped the stars. So you can also be an extraterrestrial pagan. All these guys who follow astrology, they are extraterrestrial spiritualists, because they believe the star has life and is telling something. And of course, that's what happened with Jesus Christ when he was born. The Magi said that star means a king is born, and where the star is, that is where the king is. And it led them to Bethlehem. Interesting story if you read it astrologically. So and what I wanted to say about neo-pagan groups and eco-pagans, this is now the global warming movement, the people who are spiritualizing global warming and are now talking about, there are some people spiritualizing it. Of course, please don't spiritualize it. First of all, deal with it scientifically. The earth is really changing, and it's because of the sun. The sun has, and time, you know, with time, everything changes. So, and the earth is also changing because of man's efforts, and man's efforts are becoming so much. The efforts of man is so many that it's even changing the atmosphere, and the change of that atmosphere is changing the climate. So that's what has happened right now. And now people have they are taking global warming very seriously, and some people who are now religious are taking it to this level whereby don't hurt Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is crying. She is wailing for what is happening to the earth, thanks to the artificial accomplishments of man. And I want you to see the earth like the human body, and we who are on earth as the cells in that body. And so when we are hurting the earth, it's like cells in the body that are misbehaving. And Mother Earth goes to see Dr. Jupiter and tells Dr. Jupiter that my body is feeling pain. What can I do? And Dr. Jupiter gives medicine to Mother Earth, and when Mother Earth takes the medicine, it causes hurricanes in the earth. And so the hurricanes and all of these things, earthquakes, they are the result of the medicine that Dr. Jupiter has given Mother Earth. I'm just being imaginative. And what I'm just trying to show you is that understand the spirituality and the science of personality, that the earth is also a person, and that planets are also a person, and that you are a person, and even your chromosomes are like people living in your body, you know. So that's up to those who can think like that. You know, I can't force you to think how I think. Animism entails the belief that all living things have a soul. End of story. That is what you should know. And the actions of non-human animals are viewed as intentional, planned, and purposive. Yes, this is very seen in animism. You know, when a lion comes, like I heard the news yesterday that an elephant just killed our German woman in Zimbabwe. And if you're an animist, you will say that that animal, there was a purpose. It went for that lady. Because humans have been going to see elephants in Zimbabwe for many years. Why is it that today or that day the elephant went for that lady? You see, that's a very weird story. And for animists, they'll tell you, you know how Africans talk. Oh, that one tells you something. The elephant was looking for. You see? So that is what Africans say, especially African animists. Of course, these days, most Africans are no longer staunch animists as they used to be. Then some animists also view plant and fungi life as persons and interact with them accordingly. Yes, I've seen this a lot in some. They talk to plants, talk to trees, they connect with them, they do a lot of interaction with them. And libations, dropping wood, dropping food, they drop food on the ground to give the ancestors. That's very common in Africa. And of course, not so common now, because I've told you people are not so animistic as they used to be. And these are nice books to read. I'm going to read them because I'm really enjoying this animism talk, and there's Body and Mind and a history of and defense of animism. I'm going to read that one. Very yummy to eat. And look at a physicist has just said there's quantum animism. Wow. And he asserts that consciousness is an integral part of the physical world, not an emergent property of special biological or computational systems. That's weird. For him, he doesn't believe that biology came first, then consciousness. And this is what I want us to discuss one time, and other people who are scientists and spiritual. What came first, consciousness or biology? Life. That's what we need to study. Is consciousness life? Did consciousness come first, or life came first? These are the thoughts we need to be thinking every day. And then, so we're going to read Nick Herbert more, and we'll discuss it when we've read enough. We also see Werner Kriegelstein. He's also talking about what Herbert has written. And then you have Ashley Curtis also talked about that. Good. Now, do we have anything else? Okay. Alan Garner, these are the list of people who are animists or had animistic worldviews. Alan Garner, Leslie Silko, Alice Walker, Daniel Quinn, David Abram, Patricia Grace, wow, Chinua Achebe, yes, our very great African writer. Yes, he was an animist. I think he had animistic views because when you hear the ant hill of Savannah, the arrow of God, he was giving life to the arrow. And then you have the anthills of Savannah, you're personifying the anthills. Because for someone who's not an animist, when he sees an anthill, he just says, these are just ants building their castles, they're just ants. But to an animist, it means something. There are some people who even take it to the extreme and say those are the ancestors who have come back, reincarnation, and they are now building the anthills, the castles. I mean, because you think about it, really think about it. How does an ant build a castle? And when you look for the brain of the ant, it's not even the size of your finger. An ant's brain is even almost non-existent, but it builds an anthill. So this can make you either be an atheist or an animist, because an animist will say that ant, the soul of an ant is not the soul of a human. It's the life essence, the spiritual essence of an ant is not the spiritual essence of a human. And hence, but all the spiritual essence is thoroughly intellectual. It is high intellect. So humans are different from other animals, but it doesn't mean the other animals are stupid, you know, because the rhino will never be a human, but there is something the rhino can do so well that the human can't do. So that is what is animism. So I'm happy to find Chinua Achebe, great man, had that worldview, and Louise Edric and Marge Piercy. And then animist worldviews also have been identified in the animated films of Hayao Miyazaki. Good. So that is our study on. We've just rushed through, and I want you to do more reading on this. It's a very important thing, and when you study animism, you will know a lot about the indigenous people in the world, and that's mostly Africa and Asia. I mean, that's why in Africa land problems are very high, because the land is a person. You see, the earth is a person, and so there are very many. Of course, some communities don't view that. Some do. They take the land because of animism, the spiritual, the fact that everything is spiritual. So even the land has a spirit. The land has a soul. So for some people, when the colonialists came and then there was famine, they said, "Oh, this is because the land has been invaded," and all of this. That's what animism portrays, and this is why most Africans are Christian now. They don't really, or if not Christian, westernized, and we are now very secular. So we really don't pay attention to those old beliefs of old. And I think, as I end, I would prefer Africans and all the world to really focus more on science, but also because when you have science, you can even study spirituality. But when you have spirituality minus science, you will be really let down, because science is booming. You know, we are making very many things, inanimate things, and in animism, anything has spiritual essence. Even a phone, even a laptop, even a computer. So what would I do if I was an animist? I would be a scientist also, and make a lot of things, so that I have my science and I have my spirituality, rather than stick to my spirituality and remain poor. And I don't have science, I don't study science. So this is why we are a channel that encourages science, because fact is higher than faith. I want to end with this example. If you are told that your dog has died, someone calls you and says, "Hey, Pauline, your dog has died." And Pauline will say, "Oh, my dog has died," as she starts crying. She hasn't seen the dog. She hasn't even heard. She doesn't know anything. She has believed. That is what belief means. Acceptance. Acceptance of a statement. That is what a belief is. But a fact is, it is not acceptance. You don't need to accept a fact. A fact is an accurate representation of an event. That is a fact. A belief is just an acceptance of a statement. The statement may be a lie or may be true. But you as a person, you will not even seek to know what it was. You will just believe. But somebody who wants facts, when you tell them the dog has died, they'll say, "No, I need to see the dog. Show me evidence. Show me pictures. Show me a video. Show me this and this. Or let me come there and see if truly the dog is dead." That is somebody who loves facts. So I would encourage you out there, please be a lover of facts, and then you can now think of whether you want to believe something or not, rather than but don't stay in the level of being religious. Religion is subordinate to science. Yes, because religion is a pursuit of truth, and science is truth. So religion is actually pursuing science. It doesn't know it is pursuing science, but that's what it is. It is pursuing science. Science is truth, and God is science. That's my view. It's science. So don't attack progress. When people are doing stem cell reproduction and they are going out of the earth, my friends, please do not attack progress. It is wisdom. It is science. It is knowledge. Jesus Christ is the knowledge. Jesus Christ is the wisdom of God. So he's a science of God. He's his knowledge. And I wonder what people really think. They are so anti-science. That's why we're an LGBTQ channel that has told LGBTQ persons you can be spiritual because science is on your side. It's a fact. LGBTQ people are LGBTQ people. It is a fact. It is not, you don't need to believe, you don't need to accept. I don't need you to accept that I'm LGBTQ. It's a fact, whether you accept it or not. But what I have to accept is, God is called Allah, or God is called Yahweh. That one, nobody can prove what is true, because God has to come and tell us that this is his name. But since he has never told anybody his name, nobody can say that it is Allah or Yahweh. All of those are right, or all of those are wrong. You see? But a fact is a fact. It doesn't need acceptance. It needs evidence. And the evidence is there. Okay. Goodbye, guys. Thank you so much for studying animism. Let's study it more.